growing over the Air India crash after initial findings were released by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau on July the 12th. One of the speculations came from US media outlet The Wall Street Journal, which released a report on July the 15th, claiming the Boeing 787 Dreamliner crash may have been caused by pilot error. Amid rising questions over the jet's design, fuel switch movements and AAIB's preliminary findings, the Wall Street Journal has surmised that pilot error was the primary cause of the Air India crash. The newspaper, citing assessment by US officials, said the black box recording indicates that the captain turned off the fuel control switches. The news report also brought up the cockpit voice recording, where one of the pilots is heard asking the other why he moved the fuel switches to cut-off positions seconds after lifting off the runway. But according to the recording, the other pilots responded that he did not do so. The Wall Street Journal report comes even as the preliminary probe hasn't been published. The fault of the pilots has not been established or underlined if the fuel switch control was the cause of the crash. Well, joining us to discuss this report that has been released, Vandana Singh, an aviation expert. Vandana, thank you ever so much for joining us. Questions raised about this report from the Wall Street Journal. Firstly, what authority do the Wall Street Journal have to make these assumptions before a full report has even been released?
Absolutely. Your question, my answer lies in your question, and it's the same. There is one preliminary report that came out. After that, nothing has come out from AAIB. Then there is no authority to Wall Street Journal or any other media house to come out with anything like this. It's incorrect, it's unfair, and it's inappropriate.
Yes, and Vandana, of course, a deadly situation like the AI-171 crash that we saw, devastating families and friends across the world, Indian nationals, British nationals, Portuguese, Polish, Canadian, so many families, friends, and of course nations still grieving from this tragedy. What does a report like this do to those people who are in mourning?
Exactly. So what it's doing is it's creating a sort of a psyche, a sort of, a leading on to a certain point or a conclusion where actually it's just planting something in the people's mind. And everybody wants a full disclosure. Everybody wants a closure. There are lots of families who have lost their near and dear ones. A lot of people affected globally. And it's a national tragedy for us, of course, over here. So putting something out like this without, any concrete evidence, without the AAIB's involvement, I think is injustice, is unfair and unethical. Over to you.
Yes, absolutely. And we're just showing now on screen the title of this article, and it's called "The Truth About the Air India Crash." What are your thoughts on this sort of title and the influence that media can have over situations like this, which are still being investigated? Do you think that there should be questions answered by the Wall Street Journal after this report?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it causes a ripple effect. It is a cascading effect. It goes from one media house to the other media house. And media houses should act with a sense of responsibility, a sense of discipline, and a sense of professionalism. And if something like this is being leaked out and it says it's the truth, then I call it fake news. And fake news it is, because until you see the AAIB's next bulletin, how can we come to conclusions? And what is Wall Street doing there to come out with such conclusions? It's actually leading on to a certain theory or certain narrative which it wants everybody to buy. And yes. I don't buy this.
Yes, absolutely.
Over to you, sir.
But Vandana, stay with us, because we're going to now look at pilot unions who are